think after the last meeting that we had with CPI, we started seeing a big jump in people trying to come and test their systems up. So at least that has increased to some extent.
Right.
So the only thing is it was too late, and now we are also getting into a production rollout mode now. So let's see how it goes.
हाँ पता है मुझे, एक छोड़ दो, मैं देख लूँ। आप करते रहो, बस मुझे छोड़ देगा, मेरे को करना है। माइक बंद है ना अभी?
Bhargav ji, 4 or 5 हो गए. I think if you are fine, we should start.
Let us start. People will join.
Bhargav ji.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Vikram Kothari ji. Huzefa ji is not there. Renu ma'am, Aniket and Sijo and other dignitaries, other officials from NCL and NSC. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request to redo this program. We did one program last Monday also, but on the request of many members, we plan to do it again this Monday. Sir, I'll not take much of the time, only will jump into the main issues of the members. And for the benefit of new members who couldn't join it last week, my starting question to you, Kothari sir, see, members wants to know the regulator's intent through this regulation. What is expected from members and compliances after implementation of this circular? And many members have written to me and called me. They want, say, basic things. What is expected from them? What they have to do BOD at the time of BOD during the day, and EOD at the time of EOD. And after this, I think I'll give it to Varinder ji. He'll pose few questions. We have compiled few of the questions of our member. So Varinder ji will pose it to you and your team. So what is the intent of the regulator and what are we expected to do during the day and the beginning of the day? Over to you, Kothari sir.
So, sir, I'll answer the first question first with respect to the intent. So I think in 2000, end of 2020, the first step towards segregation and identification of client collateral was brought in the form of securities pledge repledge, where clearly the securities which were given by the clients for their collateral or the margin exposures was mandated that it should remain in the client account, and when it comes to the clearing corporation or till the level of the clearing member or the broker, there should be a clear identification of whom those securities belong to, such that the exposure of a client can be clearly mapped against the collaterals that gets provided by him. In a way that the collateral given by one client cannot be used for the collateral utilization of some other client. That was the first step that was taken in this respect. The second step was that cash and cash equivalents of the collateral still are currently in a fungible, in a omnibus kind of a mode. That's again the intent of the regulators is very clear that if client A has provided collaterals, that collateral should be clearly mapped only for that client's utilization. That ultimately requires us to look at a segregated model even for cash and cash equivalents, whereas clearly the broker's own funds which he's providing for supporting the clients, that can be in the form of prop collaterals that can be made available. That was the intent, was that if a client has given collaterals in any form, the benefit of that collateral should be available to that client, should be mapped against the exposure of that client. And that was the primary intent of this entire move. And this is the second phase. In fact, the second phase was where the segregation reporting was initiated in October 21. And that was a requirement where T+1, the collaterals segregated were supposed to be required to be reported by the members over to the clearing corporation. And now the next step, a logical step, is that it needs to be also allocated while allowing trading exposures and limits to the client. This is my answer on the intent from the first question perspective. When it comes to the second part of what to do intraday, what to do EOD, I would request members to refer to our operational circulars and guidelines which have been issued in this respect over a period of time since this mandate was made there. It clearly stipulates out that what is required to be done intraday and what is required to be done end of day. Very clearly, the intent is that if a client is trading, collateral requirement for that when it is available with the member has to be allocated prior to the client actually taking an exposure. While I would request that people look at the circular, because there are certain exceptional circumstances which will exist in the business model, which have been provided for. And in fact, SEBI has been gracious enough to understand the voice of the market and provide leeways on what are allowable as not in case of a not non-allocable kind of a transaction where things have not been allocated, what kind of exposures are allowed, what kind of exposures are not allowed. I think that's a very clear circular which has also been issued by the clearing corporations post discussions with SEBI. So what was up? These are the questions that the intent as well as what they are required to do. I think it will require them. I'll request the members again who are on the call to look at the circulars in detail, which gives out the operational guidelines in a very clear and a detailed manner. And in fact, if there are any other questions beyond that, I think this is what the call where we are having for where we can take these questions, provide more clarity. And fortunately, we have Renu also, Renu ma'am, who's actually from the exchange regulatory side, who's also joined the call, along with Mr. Sijo, who manages the collaterals and the risk management side, along with our Chief Risk Officer, Mr. Huzefa, as well as Aniket Banu, who's been spearheading this project from a go-live perspective at NCL. So briefly, Vadwa Sahab, that is the answer to the questions that you had.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I'll give it to Virender ji, who has compiled the questions from our members, and he'll take it up with you and your team. Virender ji.
Yeah, thank you, Albaji. There are some set of questions which Vivek ji has raised which are common, but before that I'll just raise two most common questions which we have encountered. The first is respect to allocation specifically in the phase 1 as we go live on 2nd May. So is the allocation has to be explicitly done to Pro, or it is implicit? For example, if my total collateral is 100 crores and I have allocated say 60 crores of collateral to clients, by implicit 40 crore is going to be allocated to Pro, or I have to specifically allocate 40 crores to Pro?
Sijo?
Yeah. So, sir, how we plan to go live is that on Friday, whatever will be your collateral as on end of day. So we will, when we go live with May 2nd date, we will automatically take all these collaterals as CM prop collateral. And we will start from there. Of course, members will have the option to reallocate those collaterals. We plan to, in fact, we are planning, we will be giving some more details later on. but we plan to do it maybe one day before or on Monday morning. You can reallocate this collateral to your TMs or to your clients. So the idea would be that we will start with whatever end of day collaterals are there to CM prop level, and from there on you can reallocate those collaterals as you want it.
But to add to what Sijo said, however, any additional collateral that you will add subsequently, that will not get allocated to Pro by default. So on the go live date, whatever is the collateral that is lying, we will make it proprietary on day one and you can reallocate it to client. But subsequently, any collateral that is added will not get allocated automatically to any entity.
Okay. That is the one typical most common question. I think you addressed that. The second most common question which we have received is, let me illustrate with a specific example. Supposing I have given 5 crores of TM prop capital and I have only one client who has given 1 crore as non-cash collateral post haircut pledge value. And supposing the client trades up to a margin of 1 crore, at what band will I stand in terms of RRM?
Sorry, I did not catch the last sentence.
So in terms of the risk reduction mode band, exposure band percentage, where will I stand? Because there have been some multiple combinations which people have computed. So let me reiterate the question. 5 crore is my prop cash total and 1 crore is my single client who has given non-cash of 1 crore. And if he trades up to a margin of 1 crore, what will be my exposure band utilization?
It will be, so assuming that there is no prop margin now.
Correct.
It will be 10 lakhs divided by 5 crores.
Okay. So, in principle, if my clients keep on giving me stock up to 5 crores, the first 5 crores will be automatically allocated, but not utilized for the percentages of prop band utilization.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So these were the two most common. Before I take up the other questions, Vivek Agarwal ji is here and he has some very relevant questions. So I'll first give it to Vivek ji, and once he has completed his questions, I will compile the rest of the questions.
So, Sijo, suppose in FNO, a clearing member has 86 crores collateral and he has allocated all the 86 crores. And out of which 9 crores is allocated to a client A. Now, so on this basis, we start off. Now, let's say after half an hour, this client A has reduced his margin payable from to only 2 crores against allocation of 9 crores. And he now wants to trade in currency. So, to support this, the clearing member wants to shift an FD of 5 crores from FNO to currency. So 3 actions are to be taken. He will submit a downward collateral file for the FNO segment, reducing the client A's allocation. He will submit in CIM, he will submit an FD shift request, and in currency, he will give a upward movement of collateral in favor of client A. So in what sequence he has to do these 3 activities?
Vivekji, there is one correction. Going forward, the transfer facility through CIM will not be available. So it is not a 3-step process. It's only a 2-step process, wherein you mentioned it correctly that you will first do the downward allocation in FNO for that client. And in that, the second step would be the upward allocation in currency segment.
So what about the fixed deposit?
Yeah, so sir, we have to understand now going forward, whatever collaterals in the form of cash, BG and FD you are adding, it is actually fungible across all segments. Even if you continue to give me the documents in that specific segment, ideally once it reaches us, it will get available in your screen, where if you would have seen in the test environment, it is collateral available for allocation. That is collateral inquiry pool is there. You will be able to see the value of that collateral getting reflected there. Once it is reflected there, you can allocate it to any segment. With that logic, we would be discontinuing the transfer through CIM, that is instrument-based transfer, which was available. So that step is not required now.
Okay. So this will be live from May 2.
Yes, sir.
So what you are saying is very important. What you are saying is the only record which you will be maintaining is what is the breakup of collateral for clients and for proprietary in various segments. But on the other side, the earlier breakup which you used to maintain for currency capital market, that will no longer be there. That will be treated as a whole.
Right, sir. So even if you see our circulars, we have mentioned that we would be discontinuing the collateral breakup report segment wise. Instead of that, we are giving you one comprehensive collateral breakup report, which will give you all the details of whatever instruments you have placed with us.
Okay. The other question I was having, that when we are, suppose all our collateral is currently allocated, and now we are doing an incremental upload where we are reducing for one client and increasing for another. So when NSE software is processing the file, will it intelligently consider all the records as a whole and see that it is neutral and go ahead? Or
Yes, sir. So, one thing you have to take note of here is that because we are using file upload, so for every scenario, we have two ways of doing it, either by file upload or you do it by screen. So to start with, if you're doing a file upload, just you have to ensure that in such scenarios, you have to do the downward request first, that the first line would be for the downward request and the next line would be for the upward request. So this is one thing which you have to take care of.
okay.
And if you're doing it from front end, then you I modify the FNO segment downward first and then do the upward allocation in currency segment.
Okay, that's fine. In the last few days, when we are uploading files in the test segment, so we are unable to see the collateral of the client in whose favor we have uploaded. So,
Right, sir. So I could see that the files are getting successfully uploaded, but sometimes the reflection is not happening in the collateral information screen, which we are working on it. Maybe, sir, in the test environment, the movement is happening a bit slow, but we will look into it, sir. But your files are getting uploaded successfully.
So Vivekji, because this testing is happening on a test environment, and there's some R testing also going on in the parallel. So it may so happen that at times it may be delayed. Well, this will not be a fact on the production environment. Production environment, it will be all a sturdy environment because currently some bit of R testing and optimizations also is getting tested on that same environment right now. So.
Okay, another thing I just wanted to raise that though you had clarified to Virendraji in the beginning, but still I wanted to raise that like suppose a clearing member has allocated for his various TMs and clients, then for his own proprietary capital, he has to upload a allocation record saying that I'm allocating so much for CM proprietary. Is that true, or will it work by arithmetic that the all total collateral line with the clearing corporation minus all the allocations uploaded, the remaining will go to the credit of CM prop? Or does he have to explicitly upload a figure?
Sir, can I answer, Vikram sir?
Yes, please.
Vivekji, you have to explicitly mention that your CM prop or TM prop allocation explicitly, because the arithmetic is actually it will work for at our side, because if you try to do an upward allocation for any client, it will first look whether there is any available collateral which is not allocated. So unless and until you do not do a downward allocation for your CM prop, it will not allow you to do any upward allocation. So with that perspective, or otherwise, you have to anyways explicitly mention what is your CM prop.
Okay, I'm just suggesting something that actually legally we are not changing anything, but I'm just making a suggestion which can help in the technological implementation, given that there will be a lot of load on the system. So see, we cannot increase any allocation to a client without doing a downward allocation, unless and until we keep some unallocated capital all the time. So what I'm saying is that if we can work on the premise that all the unallocated capital is the clearing member's prop capital, then technology wise it can make life easy, because you have a big pool of clearing member collateral, and you can, go on uploading PMs and client collateral without worrying that it has to be done in the proper sequence. See, as a clearing member, if you have a big cushion, then you need not worry, you can just do it. It gives a little bit more flexibility.
Sijo, if I can answer that.
Yeah.
Vivekji, the intent of this entire move is that any money that is going to the clearing corporation needs to be clearly identified against the beneficiary of those funds. So a resultant number may not be right because some member may be right in using the resultant number as his prop capital, but not necessarily it cannot be applied as a rule. So the intent is that any money that is provided to the clearing corporation clearly needs to be identified against whose exposure it is. Tijo, am I correct on that, right?
Yes, sir, you are right. And to add on that, sir, Vivekji, this allocation, once it is streamlined, I mean, once we are used to it, then the additional allocation will come only in case of additional collateral once it comes to us, or in case where you want a reallocation. So prop reallocation, when it's not anyways required every day, it's only when you want to change it.
Siju, one related question is what happens in, for example, when an FD or a BGR matures or expires? On that day, where will it get deallocated from? From that respective client or from prop?
Okay, so sir, if you have seen the circular, we have advised, in fact, informed members that they have to ensure that they are tracking the instruments which are getting matured on the given day, and they have to unallocate those collaterals upfront before the maturity, which will run, of course, on the end of day. So before the maturity process is run from our day at the end of the day, the members have to unallocate those collaterals and keep it free. So that is the requirement from the members.
On the front end, will NCL be giving us a client-wise that so much collateral is allocated to this client, so much is his margin payable, and hence the percentage utilization is so much? Can we expect this report?
Sir, both information are available. Both client collateral allocated at client level, it is in the collateral model which you are using for testing, and the margins menu today also gives you client level margins. So both information is available.
But once we go live, these two pieces of information will they be available in a single download, single report?
Sir, we will check that. I think it may not be there to start with, but we can work on it, sir.
Okay, because it will allow us to react faster.
Yes, sir. Noted, sir.
Also, one thing that can this report which I just mentioned to you of capital and margin payable. So what we will be doing is we will be taking an export from your system from time to time, and also loading it into our back office and check for fresh deposits by clients. So what I was suggesting, that if some auto export can be made which continuously exports with a gap of 15 minutes, then we can make our back office automatically pick the exported file, and it can run in a seamless manner all the time.
Yes, sir. I got it, sir. I got it.
Richi, that's a good suggestion. We will take it up. Obviously, not in the phase that's going live. We'll let it stabilize first, and it's a very good to have kind of a feature. We will evaluate that. Please.
Also, sir, though the circulars have kept some provision that certain penalties will not be applicable in the first few months, irrespective of that, I just wanted to add one thing, is that since now we are in real-time mode, so after expiry of these few months, that if a client is compliant on EOD basis, both for the EOD margin as well as compliant in all the peak margin readings, then merely because his capital was allocated an hour late or so, we should have some cushion for that, because by the time the client gives money to the TM and TM to CM and both their back offices cite it and they upload it, if we don't have that cushion period, then a lot of litigation is likely to come from the clients.
So, Aniket, if I'm not wrong, for the first 3 months, sir, as advised by SEBI, there's no penalty on allocation or non-allocation, right,
Yes,
Aniket?
yes, yes.
And then for 6 months, Vivekji, post that, it is only on a EOD basis that the allocations have to be completed. That technically gives the market as well as us 9 months to actually put the processes in place. And as you said, EOD is something that SEBI is anyway allowed 6 months for 6 months post the 3 months initial buffer.
No, that's fine. I agree. What I'm saying is that it is about execution and real time. Even if when we are totally streamlined, it will always take, even a year from now, it will take some time for the deposit of the money and the information to flow to the clearing corporation. And in any case, there is a lot of pressure on the clearing corporation software, also the trading engine. So, if we say that in the allocation, if for so many minutes, if a client is not compliant for say certain number of minutes, but his collateral is there for the throughout
Vivekji,
the day.
that leeway also has been given in the SEBI leeway that if you have uploaded, okay, it will be considered as allocated from the purpose of for the purpose of penalty computation. Even if we have taken time to actually give the benefit out to the client, that will be considered as allocated depending upon the time that you have actually allocated and uploaded the file or the data has been sent to the clearing corporation.
Okay. Linderji?
Yes. So Shiv Kumar ji has a couple of questions. Shiv Kumar ji.
Sir, before Shiv Kumar ji takes it, I have a related question. Sir, if I gave prop cap, incremental prop cap in a day, so I have to allocate it incrementally to the client, or I have to do it once again, basically, for the whole money lying with you as a prop capital?
Sir, you will have to put the cumulative amount. It is, let's assume that the client had 10 lakhs and he has additionally, and you want to allocate additional 2 lakhs to the client. You will have to modify the record, or in the upload file format, you will have to mention 12 lakhs.
Okay, not the incremental. Over to you, Shiv Kumar ji.
Okay, thank you, Vikram ji. Thank you, all the dignitaries there. See, my first question is this: stock allocation for the margin purpose to the client will be on actual usage basis, on dynamic basis, and not on FIFO basis, which was confirmed to us earlier.
Yes, sir. It will be on the utilization basis. Whichever client trades first, his stocks will be utilized.
For example, if there is a TM proprietary funds are say 10 crores and excess component or the excess component of the non-cash to that extent will be allocated on actual use basis from the clients.
Yes, sir. It will be on actual use basis and not on FIFO. Not on FIFO in terms of when it was pledged, but in terms of whoever is utilizing.
Yeah, a TM, yes. So my point was, so if there is no FIFO pre-allocation to the clients of the stocks.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Second question was, see if there is a client trade, based on that, there is a deemed allocation out of the TM Pro and also at the same time out of the CM Pro. And in that situation, if the deemed allocation is happening out of CM Pro, there will be deemed allocation to TM Pro also and to the client.
Actually, in this case, whenever there is the deemed allocation of CM happening, then TM will actually go into the risk reduction mode. But having said that, it is possible that there will be TM Pro deemed allocation and CM Pro deemed allocation simultaneously.
No, I didn't get it. So what you're saying, wherever there is a deemed allocation from the CM Pro
for TM.
For TM, because that has to suppose that is to be used by the clients, being used by the client. In that case, TM will go into the risk reduction mode.
Yes, sir.
So because it went to the CM Pro only because the TM, Aniket, that logic is because it went to the CM Pro only because the TM Pro was insufficient, right?
Yes, sir.
No, my point was, if since it is a deemed allocation out of the CM Pro, let it be the deemed allocation to the TM Pro also. It remains allocated, and let there be no risk reduction mode. If it is not getting allocated by the CM Pro, then yes. But if it is getting allocated from the CM Pro, let the TM and all the pending orders of all their client need not to go. It could be, if suppose TM Pro is say 30 crore, the moment it hits, 27 crore and beyond, there is a allocation from the CM Pro. So all other clients need not to go into the risk reduction mode of that client if there is a deemed allocation from the CM Pro.
Sir, that's not the way the framework has been envisaged, and so the framework is that it will only come to a CM Pro only if there's an insufficient capital at the trading member level. That would technically mean that the trading member is not having funds enough to actually fund to support the client trades of his own, and that's in that case where it will go to CM Pro. The TM Pro is insufficient to cover his own client's trades out, and that's why he's going into a risk reduction mode. That's the way the entire model has been envisaged, sir. It cannot be that if a TM is insufficiently having proprietary capital, he can resort to the clearing member actually ending up funding the trading member for it.
No, I appreciate that. My only thing was it means there has to be always a pre-allocation by the CM Pro to TM Pro to avoid this.
That is possible, but
if it is a deemed allocation,
provided that much collateral is available to the CM from the TM.
If there is a CM Pro available and there has to be prior allocation, you mean to say all the time, not the deemed allocation.
Yes, so I'll just note to recap how we will monitor TM margin utilization is that TM prop margin plus the client margin in excess of 90% of client allocation. This divided by the no collateral of TM prop. So this is how we will monitor the risk reduction mode for trading members. And in case there is in case the TM the denominator of this, that is TM proprietary allocation plus the value of repledged securities of TM, if this is not sufficient, then the TM trading member will go into the risk reduction mode.
Okay, sir. Another thing, that when you are talking a client using more than 90%, it is cash and non-cash both clubbed together.
Yes, sir.
So it is if is using more than 90% of his total collateral, in that case it goes out of the CM Pro.
It will at the first instance go from the TM Pro, sir.
It is 90% of the total collateral of the client.
Yes. So suppose your client has 100 rupees cash and 100 rupees the securities, then whatever is more than 180 will be considered from TM Pro.
But if you say 100 cash and 200 non-cash, total 300, and there is sufficient cash as a CM to make the 200 non-cash eligible,
then it will be about 270, sir.
This will be about 270.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Third question was, sir, if a client has repledged the certain stock and pledged the stock, and TM has repledged to CM, and CM has repledged to CC, but there is some TM level limit or CM level stock limit based on which the client does not get the benefit. In that situation, it will eat out of the TM Pro.
Yes, sir. So this dynamic allocation that we mentioned earlier,
yes,
that is only in respect of the stocks which are within the limit but reaching the 50-50 criteria. So suppose TM Pro cash is 10 crore, let's say. Let us say, for simplicity, let us assume it's only a self-clearing member. Self-clearing member cash is no, there is some amount, and more than that, securities are given, but the securities are within the member limit and overall limit. Then only those securities which are eligible for potentially giving 50-50 benefit, they will be considered more than the member level limit. If anything is given, then that will not be considered for margin utilization.
But for penalty purpose, will it be, then EOD reporting, etc., that will be considered, which is at present considered? On EOD reported client-wise margin availability allocation, his total collateral are there, they are approved securities and repledged. So whether it will be considered or there is a reason code required for that. So because client was compliant.
No, sir. Only we will consider whatever is within the ML member limit and overall limit. So in this case, the collateral will have to be allocated to the client.
No, my point is here the client was having a collateral because of the member approved security, and it was not given benefit because of the member level limit. In that case, the TM Pro was allocated for the purpose of the trades. But for the EOD reporting, his total collateral will be considered for levying the penalty on the client.
Goelji, for margin reporting, you can consider.
For margin reporting,
you can consider.
So under the new system also, it will not attract penalty, no, on that.
Yes, you can consider those securities as margin which are only pledged with you, have not been repledged to CC. While reporting margin that you have collected in margin MG13 file, you can always report.
Okay. Thank you. Virendraji, I have covered my question.
Sir, I will, sorry, what Venuji has spoken is about client margin reporting, but when that after 9 months, whenever their short allocation penalty will come, that time if allocation is not there, we will consider it for, no, it will get considered for short allocation penalty. Although client margin reporting you can do on that basis, it will be expected that allocation is done for the client.
Aniket, I think Goel Saab was asking from an end of day margin reporting perspective. But as Goel Saab, as Aniket put it out, while for margin reporting purposes, what you have from client is suitable enough for you to report. But there will be a short allocation because that excess utilization will get blocked against the trading members prop. Hence, that allocation would be required from your prop. Aniket, that's what you intended to say, right? And
yes.
Hence, there will be a separate short allocation penalty also which is prescribed. So while you were talking about end of day, I think Aniket was referring to the short allocation mechanism where you've not allocated prop sufficiently to cover a client's obligation or requirement intraday.
No, my point was during the day we allocate to him so that he's able to trade, but for the purpose of levying penalty on EOD basis, whether it will attract the allocation penalty.
No, in that case, there's no short allocation, sir. If you've done the allocation already intraday, then technically there's no short allocation in that case. Then it's not a problem because your EOD margin reporting will be, in case there's a short allocation and your prop is getting blocked for that reason and you've not done the allocation, that is where that intraday penalty will get computed for short allocation.
So you were saying wherever there is a deemed allocation in such situation to the client, it will attract penalty after 9 months.
Yes.
I will like to just mention that more than 350 participants are there at the moment. 6 honorable members have raised their hands. I will like to inform that we have already received some questions on mail. Jay Gupta ji of Manilicious, our chairman for the West, will take up few, and Virender Mansukhani ji, our past alternate president who has compiled this, will take up. And after that, we will take the questions of those members who have raised their hands. Over to Mr. Jay Gupta.
Yeah, thank you, Sabharwalji. Thanks, Mr. Kothari, for joining us again today. So most of the questions, relevant questions, have been asked. So there is one question from Mr. Arun Mistry. So he says that how can report allocation of error code account when ledger balance is 0?
Sorry, Jayji, I think that question is not very clear. Venu
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Aniket, have you got it?
Mr. Arun Mistry, can you just reframe the question and send it again, please? So, in the meanwhile, there is another question from Mr. Vinay, is from SMC. Like, what if due to market movement, TM uses CM fund? In this case, whether CM will be charged for deemed funding penalty?
So again, I think that we have gone over this many times. There is difference between short allocation and deemed allocation. And short allocation penalty will be on the basis of the margin collection requirements. So while there is some discussions that member organizations are taking with SEBI regarding this variation of margin, but as things stand now, if there is increase in the margin collection requirement due to market movements, then peak margin requirements become applicable, and accordingly allocation should be in place. If allocation is not there, then the short allocation penalty becomes applicable. If as I mentioned, organizations are taking up with SEBI on to address the problem of variation in margin due to market movement. So if that is addressed, then this also will get addressed. And finally, if there is extreme movement, like more than 3% Nifty movement, then client margin reporting penalty is not applicable, and accordingly short allocation penalty will also not be applicable.
Mr. Virender Mansukhani to take up the questions which were there with us.
Yes. So let me just start. So the other question which we got on mail was that, do we need to allocate cash equivalents like government securities which are already repledged with the CC?
So securities which are repledged to CC are not required to be allocated, because those are in the current mechanism also already allocated. So if the GSECs are coming to SGL, that is the RBI e-Kuber mode, then there is a requirement to allocation.
No, so for example, if a client has given me GSEC and I have repledged to the CC, that you will account for in the cash equivalent automatically.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next question was related to the delay in the custodial transactions. At times there are delays in the custodial transactions which are visible on the clearing system to the members. So the members are concerned that if because of that delay their band goes up higher, how are they going to manage that? Custodial trade confirmation delay, basically.
You're talking in the F&O?
Yes, F&O.
Sir, F&O pretty much, I think custodians have the capability to confirm real time. So it is something that the members will have to, or the clients will have to take it up with the clearing. I would not use the word custodians, I would say the clearing members, that the trades need to be cleared on an immediate basis. And wherever the clients are on auto approval, anyway, it's not a problem at all at the broker's end. And anyway, these margins are getting out of the, Aniket, these margins in F&O get blocked out of the.
They will get blocked out of PM proprietary, but there will be no penalty or nothing of that sort. But until confirmation, they will get blocked from PM proprietary. Upon confirmation, they will get blocked from the clearing.
So the concern is currently, as they see, the confirmation of the custodial trades in F&O sometimes gets delayed. That is their concern, that it could end up in two baskets, in the prop as well as of the client code, that margin could get blocked.
No, it will not get blocked from two baskets. It will, if the client has, suppose there is an FPI client for whom the broker is executing. So suppose the FPI client has given the money to the broker and not to assume that he has given at two places, the client, then the broker will allocate for the client and it will get blocked from client only. It will not get blocked from prop. But generally the practice is that the FPI client would not have given money to broker, he would have given to the PCM. So in that case, the prop money will get blocked, and upon confirmation, the PCM's money will get blocked. So it will not get blocked from in the client code as well as prop code. It will not be double. It will only be through prop.
So right, in this sequence, for example, if a FPI is liquidating long options, which it had bought yesterday and today it is selling, on the TM prop, the sell margin will be significantly higher. And by the till the time it is shifted to the CM, a significant amount of margin could get blocked. And if there is a delay in this process, that is what is the concern from member side.
Yes, that we understood, but that same as the existing process, and as soon as of course we cannot shift the margin until the clearing member confirms, and as soon as the clearing member confirms, we will shift.
But you have suggested if it is in an auto approval mode, then it will not be go to the pro, TM pro or CM pro.
Yes.
TM pro, it will go directly to the this thing, no?
Yes. If the PCM of that client decides to put the CP code on auto approval route, then all the margin will get blocked from the CP's clearing member directly. It will never get blocked at any point from the proprietary of the executing broker.
Okay.
So the other question has been, what is the kind of realistic turnaround times which we can expect, whether we are files which we are uploading, whether allocation is happening, so on and so forth. What is the kind of turnaround time which we can expect? You have already clarified that, there will be no penalty if we have uploaded. But in practice, penalty is one element. The other element is also being ability to enable the customer to trade. Supposing the client has pledged securities at 2:30 p.m. Now, will we be able to enable him to trade on the same day or not? So what is the kind of time of the entire process getting completed which we can expect?
Sir, we know that we have intraday and EOD. So EOD definitely will get processed only in after all the processes are over. And intraday, sir, we positively expect that to happen at the earliest. So yeah, we can expect that. I mean, we should get even if in the UAT sometimes we can see that immediately you get a download file. So we expect the same speed to be in the production as well.
Can we have a timeline for this? Say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
No, I think Vadwaji will have to wait for us to go live before we commit any timing. All I can say is our endeavor is that it is at the quickest possible. But I think we will just go live and then we will be able to work out and say, because things in development and UAT environment and things in production, we need to have some bit of comfort once we've gone there. But it will be at the shortest possible time. That's what the endeavor at Clearing Corporation NCL is. So we'll make sure.
Okay.
So,
as regards this standing position and increase in the margin due to volatility, we met chairperson last week, 3 days back, and we have given our submission for that. And we are quite hopeful. This is for the information of our members, that something positive will come from there.
Okay.
Over to you.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm asking. So the other question was that what is the cutoff time for EOD allocation which you are presently visualizing? So basically, because if a customer's stock is say pledged in cash market and he has traded in F&O or vice versa, we will need to release from that segment and pledge it in the appropriate segment. So what will be the cutoff time for this EOD allocation to be uploaded?
Sir, we have not yet come out with the timelines for it, but definitely we will provide sufficient times for you to put the EOD request, and EOD request will get processed only after the release process is done. So you will have sufficient time to put your allocations for EOD. We will, whenever we decide on the actual timings, we will inform the members.
So as of now, you will not, I mean, from say 2nd May, what will be the last cutoff time?
Sir, we will come out with the timing, sir. We will inform the members. As of now, I cannot tell you the exact times.
Okay.
Virender, just one question I missed. I think in the beginning, you said if on the day one, we have to start with the allocation to all the clients, or there is, or for the day one, there is some leeway.
Sir, the expectation is that after 2nd May allocation should be started. Although there is no penalty on first 3 months, there is no penalty, but the expectation from the regulator certainly will be that allocation should be done. And what we mentioned in the start is that when we will while we are going live on Monday, we'll have to deploy our systems on Friday night. So Friday night, when we are deploy our systems, that time whatever is lying, whatever is the collateral, because we don't have the breakup, we will put everything in TM Pro. Thereafter, any collateral that is getting added will not get allocated by default to any entity. And while we have allocated everything to member proprietary because we don't have data, and then there is also no penalty for non-allocation, the expectation, regulatory expectation will be that client allocation should be done from the date of going live.
So on the day one, I'm talking, and you have allocated everything, say to TM Pro, and so whatever will be the cash component requirement, it will be like a deemed allocation from the TM Pro to the respective clients.
If you do not allocate, that is what will happen.
If it is not allocated, I'm just saying on that day. After that, any addition you are saying it has to be client-wise allocation, or in very soon in a day or two, it has to be come in the rhythm.
Yes. So whatever we have put by default on Friday in Pro, that also should you should allocate ideally to your
to the respective client. What you say, whatever is the EOD position on Friday EOD, based on that we should allocate the cash also.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
Related to this application reallocation.
Yes, related to this. So, Aniket, you mentioned that on Friday everything will be allocated to clearing member Pro. But what will be the segment? Will there be any segment-wise breakup, or it will be without segment even in the?
No, right now we have collateral by segment. So whatever as on Friday end of day, whatever is lying in respective segment will be allocated to respective segment. As that is like the initial startup, because we don't have the breakup. We will have to put it somewhere. So we will put it this way, that whatever is in every segment, whatever is the cash collateral lying, we will allocate it to the proprietary in that segment only.
And also many members are now ready with their systems, but we are not able to successfully navigate the test part. If there is any load, maybe we can allocate different times for the different clearing members or something we can do. But we just need that half an hour or some time where we can successfully use the test, because it's very important before going live.
Sir, the test environment is available from morning 10:30 to evening. So you can test and it's working. I mean, we are getting responses for successful file uploads. Whatever small time lags are there, I mean, it is not happening every time. So you can continuously test. So there is no issue.
We are testing many times. We are getting the message on the screen that system is not available. And success files are coming after an hour, and success files have just 3 records or 4 records. I'm not saying it's not working, but I mean, we are honestly trying throughout the day. It's not happening because we are also very concerned that we should successfully evaluate our systems.
In fact, Siju, this is one of the most common concerns, and you can see a couple of questions also in the Q&A box in this respect, that most members are facing challenges, and while some things are getting accepted, some things are getting stuck, some different types of records are getting rejected, members are not able to decipher. For example,
Virendraji, while we will check this out, because the environment is working, there are members who are also getting successful records. Now we also have to appreciate that this test environment has been available for almost two months now, Sijo, and it has been almost available for 2 months. Given that we are into the last 4 days, Virendraji, even our engineers and the support teams are now into the production go live preparedness. So while we will discuss internally if we can have continued some dedicated support on this over the next few days, but we will just try to see how we can resolve some of the queries. Because what we've seen is after the previous call of CPI, we've seen a host of people starting to test their systems in this week itself. In fact, over the last 3-4 days, we have seen increased activity. The only thing is we have been mentioning from the previous 1 month itself over our calls that please expedite at the last moment. It is going to come and jumble up everything together, where we will also be preparing to go live now on 2nd. But we will just see internally what we can do to continue support on the test environment. But very honestly, I think we've seen successful testing also happening with a lot of members. But we will also see how we can get some continued support available on
So
this.
I understand it could be some issues with the back member has or his back office vendor or
Yeah.
but this is the time when they would require that hand holding to be
We will just see internally if we can continue that support completely over the next 4-5 days. Because as Sijo said, on Friday, in fact, we'll start moving into live. So while we will maintain support over the next 4-5 days, but yes, our responses might be a bit delayed in the sense when we get back to you on your queries on email, it might be a bit delayed. So just bear with us on that.
So we have the software vendors also with us today. So I'll request them to actually connect with the members and suggest them what files are to be run and their preparedness with the members. This is a request to the vendors, software vendors, back office vendors.
Vikramji, one of the other common requests is that last time around you had given us some scenarios 4 days before the change. So if you can give us some revised MG01 file or MG02 files which we can expect under the revised scenario, at least at the end of the day, members will be able to understand at what band they can expect to open under the new environment versus the present environment.
Sijo, if I'm not wrong, we'll be doing that. So again, Virendraji, since there's no penalty to begin with, but I think somewhere we intend to compute provisional penalty on the back of the way the allocations look like, depending on the utilizations and all. Maybe not immediately, but we will be planning to do that somewhere in the next 1 or 2 months. So we will work out provisional files. At the moment, no, for 2nd May, maybe we'll not be able to work out. I think you're referring to the provisional penalty files and how the utilizations appear. That point is well noted, but not for 2nd May. Given that there's no penalty anyway for next 3 months, we will just try and see if we can work that out in the next 1 or 2 months. Sijo, that's the intent, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So one of the queries which was from SMC Vinay was that if the TM has given cash, non-cash not in the 50-50 ratio and CM collateral is getting blocked because the client is trading, what is the recourse available to the clearing member to ensure that the TM's clients cannot breach that number? Because it will eventually result into CM prop capital getting allocated against the non-cash.
See, the recourse is basically all the collateral repledge that the CM is doing is in the hands of the CM. No, so if the CM does not want more than certain amount of securities to be given, then he might choose to not repledge it to the CC.
Ajay Gargji has few questions. Ajay.
Yeah, good evening, Vikramji. Good evening, everyone. So my question was on the same lines which Vinay asked. So is clearing corporation is going to give any file to the clearing member, like where as per 50-50 rule, the TM client wise allocation from CM fund has been done. We are just asking the report.
Sir, you will get a report where you can see what allocations have been done for your clients, but it will not reflect anything to show that this was allocated from CM Pro.
Yeah, so say trading the client of trading member say has given just 10 lakh rupees security, no cash is there, and TM do not have the corresponding cash, and entire allocation has been done from, say, 5 lakh has been blocked from CM's Pro Capital. So we just want a TM client-wise report that for this client of TM, 5 lakh rupees has been attributed for 50/50. Because there is no report as such.
Sir, even if you see today, you get CC01 and CC02 report where you can see, as of now, you are seeing the value of the collateral, whatever has come by way of pledge, repledge, and vis-a-vis the margin. So going forward, that same report will reflect both value of securities plus allocation done by the clearing member vis-a-vis the margins. So any excess of margins with respect to the client collateral is to be understood that it is from TM Pro or CM Pro.
But I think it is a consolidated file, not at the TM client UCC wise.
It is, sir. It is a TM client wise. It is CC02 reports are client wise.
I would go through it. I would connect you one to one.
Yeah.
So some of the questions relate to the error code trades. That if there are some error code trades, how will their compliance and happen, and how will the penalty, if any, get charged? So how are error code trades and to be handled for the purpose of allocation is the question, because that typically has a zero balance otherwise.
Sir, you will have to treat those in the same way in the way which you are reporting. Handling it for the purpose of MG13 reporting today. So if you are reporting in MG13, then you will have to do the allocation as
well. Before Virendraji take up the next question, I have two announcements to make. One is that CPAI is going to have its annual convention on 7th May at Hotel Lee Meridian, Delhi. This is happening after 3 years, and we expect that around 350 to 400 participants, right from Jammu to Cochin and from Guwahati to Bhavnagar. All people will physically be meeting after 3 years. So I appeal to all the members to join in the convention. And the second thing is that we have just discussed with Vikram Kothari ji that in the second week of May, maybe we'll decide around 4th of May, we will be doing one more such webinar to see that what problems members are facing after the start of the 2nd of May. After that, so that also we will be conveying you to by 4th of May, that when in the second week of May, immediately after the convention, we will be having another get together. Over to you, Mr. Virendra.
Sir, in addition to what Sabharwalji has just mentioned, we are traveling to Mumbai day after tomorrow to meet concerned officials of SEBI to get maximum relaxation for the members in this regard, what we are discussing today. Just want to add, and
Mr. Virendra, please.
So, sir, the question is also related to, in case of cash market, if the EPI is done in the evening, the EPI gets matched. During the day, you would be blocking certain margin or some allocation has been deemed in the present scenario. When it will be freed, will it go back to the prop collateral or it will go back to an unallocated pool?
No, it will remain in the prop collateral.
Okay.
Virendra ji, just 1 second before you ask any question. So I'm seeing on chat, there are a lot of queries coming on in terms of some examples to be given. So will it be good if someone from NCCL side can share a scenario analysis on Excel at least by taking certain amount and as an example, so that it gives more clarity to some of the members.
Sir, for most of those
questions which you have specific as an example which you want to take up, you take up as 1 or 2 examples. I think as open-ended as an Excel sheet. If there is any specific question which you think needs to be taken up first, please.
Yeah.
Virender ji, you can continue from the questions which we have compiled.
Okay. Now, if Jay first wants to take up any specific question, let him take up so that it is addressed.
No, Virendra, I am fine. There was no couple of queries here, so example must be given for better understanding. When somebody is written need examples, a little bit confusion, unable to understand. So if there is anything specific, those members can write here of any particular question where they want to understand from example. We can probably illustrate that. Rest over to you, Virendra ji.
Virender ji, you take it up.
So one of the other questions was that if a client has given funds to the member and member has made an FD by pooling multiple clients and then given to CC, how will it be shown as cash or FD balance? I think it has to be shown as per what the member wants to allocate. If NCL team wants to clarify anything on that.
I think that question must be related to reporting, because in case of allocation, the allocation is not FD wise or BG wise. The entire cash equivalent pool value is to be allocated. So when suppose a member has given cash, FD and BG, and he allocates, let's say, 1 lakh rupees to a client, we don't say that this 1 lakh is from FD or 1 lakh is from BG or 1 lakh is from cash. So from the cash, FD plus BG put together, whatever is the out of that, 1 lakh is allocated to the client.
So what will be displayed to the customer login as a, because I think many.
It will only display the value.
It will only be displaying the value. Okay. And so the other common request is that if a client has sold shares and done EPI and now wants to buy, is there any mechanism available that much amount can be allocated automatically by the system for such purchases? Because we are allowed to give benefit of up to 80% of the sale proceeds and allow clients to purchase. Is there any mechanism possible for the same?
No, sir. So the member can allocate it himself, but it will not be automatically allocated. Members who want to give that to the clients will have to necessarily allocate it to the client they want to give this benefit.
Okay. Is the CC looking at publishing any FAQs based upon the kind of questions it has received, so that there is a uniform standardized process flow in terms of what everybody follows in the system?
So we have had multiple rounds of meetings and answered any questions. So if there are any questions and the association sends it to us, whatever is not yet clarified, we can respond on that.
Certainly, whatever the questions will be left by day after tomorrow, we will be compiling it and sending it to you so that we can reply to our members. Mr. Mansukhani, you can continue with few more questions.
Okay. So one of the questions, so if you can see that there are 5 more open questions remaining, and many of them are actually not very complex. But one of the questions is that client has given us cash collateral of 1 lakh and the peak margin is 1 lakh, but the EOD margin is say 40,000, and the client has asked for a payout of 60,000. Then at the time of margin reporting, how it will be resolved? Whether this will pose any challenge at the time of margin reporting, because the peak margin is far higher.
No, it will be similar to how the peak margin and EOD margin is handled today. When we will take the snapshot of margin, we will also take the snapshot of allocation, and we will monitor the short allocation based on the margin and the allocation at the same point in time.
I think we are done with most of the questions because I think we are all.
Virender ji, just one question.
Yeah.
In cash segment, the client's margin requirement from the client, minimum margin is 20% flat. Suppose the VAR plus ELM is 50%. while debiting to the client out of his collateral, whether it will be first debiting full 50% or only 20%?
So if 50% is available at the client, then 50% will be considered from the client. If let us say 30 is available from the client, then 30 will be blocked from client and 20 will be blocked from the proprietary. But this will not be considered for penalty because 20 is only the collection requirement. So whatever is available from the client up to 50 will be blocked. So if it is 60 is available from client, then 50 will be blocked. 40 is available, then 40 will be blocked. But whatever is in excess, then will be blocked from prop, but there will be no penalty at any stage. No, even after 9 months, there will be no penalty because 20% is only the collection requirement.
But again, the funds will go like a deemed allocation from the TM Pro or CM Pro?
Yes.
And CM could go into the risk reduction mode because of this?
Yes.
Okay. And this 80% EPI benefit against the other further purchases or the F&O, anyway, that has to be out of the TM proprietary only because there is this is a virtual credit, you mean?
Yes, it cannot come from any other client, so it has to come from TM Pro only.
Even this 80% benefit which you want to give, it will come out of the TM Pro only.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But
that will be only on the allocation of the TM. So if the TM wants to give it to a client, the TM should allocate out of proprietary money some money to the client.
Okay. Okay. Suppose this risk management system automatically allocates, it means there has to be sufficient TM Pro available to allow such transactions.
Yes, so if there is shortfall for client, then TM so there are actually it is the kind of repetitive, but I'll say that whenever there is not enough client money, the system will block TM prop. So now there are situations in which the client can have less money. For example, the 20% margin example. So and some cases where the client should not have had less money. So that is the difference between what is deemed allocation and short allocation. But essentially, in any case, if the client margin is greater than what is the value of collateral of client, then the residual money will always be blocked from proprietary.
Virenderji, any other question?
No, I think we have run out of time. I was told we have 1 hour allocation and it's 1 hour 15 minutes.
Actually, now once again informing that on 7th of May, all of us are physically meeting at Hotel Lee Meridian, Delhi, where the finance minister is most likely to be there. Then there will be secretary to the government of India, the MDs of all the exchanges, the SEBI, and all of you, where we can discuss. And in the second week of May, what are all problems we are facing, that too will having a webinar on that. And now I request Dr. Satish Arya, our chairman for the South, to give a formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Dr. Satish Arya.
Before Satish Arya, I would like...
please, Bhagwaji, please.
I would like to request Renu Madam also to briefly say few words about what she foresee that penalties will be there and how we have to comply with the regulation. Over to you, Renu Madam.
Yeah. Thank you, Virendra. Thank you, Narendraji. Actually, with reference to penalties, etc., I don't have much to say because I don't want that penalties should be levied to either member or should be passed on to clients. Only request to all the members, because as you are aware that sometime back we had issued a circular wherein we said that upfront margin needs to be collected. We know that before any trade. So penalties on account of not collecting upfront margin cannot be passed on to the clients. And only penalties with reference to if any additional margin or M2M has not been collected can only be passed on to clients. So I would just request all members to look that everything is in place, all the risk management system is in place, so that these penalties have not been passed on to the client. because last quarter when we had done couple of LPIs, limited purpose inspection, we found that those penalties were getting passed on. So a simple request to all the members that please look into this requirement, have your risk management system in place so that penalties on this account is not passed on to the client in any kind of a nature.
Thank you, madam. Over to you, Satish ji.
हेलो
हाँ जी सतीश जी, आपकी आवाज आ रही है
ना?
हाँ जी
जी सर। सर ऐसा इसमें my suggestion, one suggestion I want to give, that one is that when this really starts from the 1st May, so then this all applicability, all the rules and everything, again this kind of seminar is already required, that one required actually essentially, and we are the self-clearing member and only retail. For us, what is the specific segregation?
So, Diji, you want us to do one more program for these self-clearing members?
Sir,
that is what you want to say?
That's what we want, and generally, see, basically TM and CM and pledging, this is being covered totally. What about the self-clearing member? And in that case,
so we will discuss with them and we'll let you know. And
sir,
now you can give a formal vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Dr. Arya.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, outrightly, on behalf of the CPI, I thank entire Kothari Saab, entire team, and all our President Narendra Vadwaji, our Sabrawal ji, and our all Southern, the Northern Chairman, and all members who have taken part with a big majority, almost 350 across the country. With wholeheartedly, I thank you all and request you to follow and to complete all this risk management, because this penalty cannot be passed. So there is a very, very important in this. And once again, entire team of NSCCL and our CPI, thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We will see you on 7th in Delhi, physically, all of you.
We will be there, sir.